hosts, Stephen Edwards and Maureen Edwards.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. And I was thinking we might delve into the subject of anger. Not just children and adolescents, but people in general. I think that's a really good subject. A lot of people will enter counseling because they have a specific problem with anger. It might be explosive anger, where they've either been mandated to go into counseling by the court system, there's been an assault, there's been something that's happened in their family life or even their workplace. And then there's different kinds of anger. Sometimes people suppress the anger, and it can be anxiety, it can be self-harm, it can be a place where people go into addictions of all different kinds to cope or suppress the anger or that rage that's within.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that might be a good subject to talk about.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of anger going on in our world, and it manifests in a lot of different ways. And it's definitely something that is a big issue in relationships, whether that's romantic or family, even relationships between professionals and their employees, or teachers and their students, right? It manifests in all these different ways and can be very debilitating to their each respective relationship in different ways.
Right.
So what do people do about that? That's a big question.
Well, there's that phrase like, I'm going into anger management, or I have to take an anger management course of some sort. So I think there's different ways that counseling can help anger. There are lots of cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT tools that are really good to know about. Sometimes that's a good tool. For example, figuring out what triggers me. Are there certain triggers that are always pushing my button so that there's an exploded response?
Yeah.
Is there a pattern to the anger?
I think that's something really important that you touched on, is knowing your triggers. And I feel like that's a word that gets really overused in today's society, and everyone has a trigger for everything. And I think if you really want to break it down, an easy way to look at it would be is what happens directly before you get angry, because it's always something that leads up to that explosion. Or if you're irritable, it's always something that kind of starts that process, and it can be a very quick spiral once you hit that trigger.
Right.
And it, like for me, for example, I can be completely calm, and then a couple things go wrong, and I notice that I start to get hotter. My blood pressure starts to raise. I might start tapping my fingers or my legs. I might pace a little bit, right? All these little physiological changes happen when I'm beginning to get irritable or angry. And that's the very important time you need to catch yourself. And you need to recognize what you're feeling, because you're not feeling the anger quite yet, but the explosion is coming. And at this point, you still have full control of your prefrontal cortex, and you have logic. You can use strategies, or you can speak to yourself, or you can disengage from the situation, and that is going to give you the ability to diffuse the situation before it really escalates too much.
I think I just love what you say, because many times thinking about, okay, what happens in my body when I get angry? That is something you can observe. That's something that you can be aware of. And that's something that you can feel, like what you said, that hotness. So maybe it's flushing in the face. Maybe it's this feeling of heat throughout your body. A lot of people, when they get angry or pre-angry, they'll start to clench their jaw, and there'll be just sort of like there's this tension in the face area. They might grind their teeth. That's another suppressed anger kind of manifestation as well. People that grind their teeth at night, they might have anger that they're just not being even aware of.
Yeah, and it definitely shows, and sorry to cut you off, it definitely shows in a lot of different ways. And everyone's is going to be slightly different, but regardless, everyone will have something they go through as that begins to escalate. So you need to recognize what your own individual tics are and what's happening. And then the important thing is, once you recognize that, what do you do next?
Yes.